This is Alex from Squadron of Foam Tasmania, bringing you a mini review today. This is all about the SlyDev Nerf Tactical Rail 3D printed accessories. I've only got a small selection of what he's got available from his website, which will be in the link description below. What I've got today is a dart holder, a long shot tactical rail extension, a jolt connector, a Nerf to Nerf connector, some iron sights, which the rear piece also has a bandolier clip attachment, and I've also got a blank tactical rail accessory, which is great for sticking your own bits and pieces onto. I've also got the camera rail accessory mount as well. These little guys having a bit of a cameo. I'll quickly attach all of these to the blasters and I'll get right into the review. Okay, so I've attached the accessories to certain blasters, which I'll go through and show you one by one in a moment. I thought I'd start off with this one. First of all, there's a few different types of accessories on the SlyDev store. Some of them you can glue on, which I'll show you one example in a moment. Other ones with specifically the tactical rail attachment, they split in half, so one half has some screws in it, the other one just goes into the screw holes. So you just put one half over the tactical rail and then screw on the other half and it makes it a nice strong fit. They usually have a little lump here, which when you have a tactical rail, they just sit into these little grooves, sort of dot over the tactical rail. Normally with regular Nerf tactical rail attachments, they've got a little spring-loaded clasp, and then also a little tooth that will sink into a little spring-loaded slot. So these ones are great for sliding over, quick and easy, whereas these ones are a much stronger, more secure fix, but they do take a little bit longer to set up by screwing them on. You can get certain accessories which will either physically glue onto the blaster. This particular one that I've got here, obviously not attached to a Nerf blaster yet, but this is a Picatinny split rail attachment, so particularly like for a long shot where the tactical rail splits down the middle when you open up a blaster for modding it or fixing it. This type of rail attachment will be able to split in half, and that way you can still get inside the blaster. You can get full ones, which are fantastic for gluing onto a blaster where it's not going to be a worry opening it up. You can get regular Nerf tactical rails, short, long ones. There's a whole heap of different accessories, so check out the link below for his store. This is the orange colour, which pretty closely resembles certain colour oranges on certain blasters. Obviously it's not perfect, but it is very close, and it's definitely a nice matching colour. So the Picatinny rail attachment is more for proper accessories like a scope or a little laser sight, things like that. So this is going to go onto my really good modified long shot, and I'll show you that in a separate video. Back to this being a blank attachment, the idea is that you can pretty much glue whatever you want onto there. You know, just your own scopes or your own Nerf accessories, your pants, I don't recommend it. But the other thing as well is this is the clear colour that's available on the store. Obviously it's not as clear as what a clear series recon or deploy would be, but particularly if you're into modding, if you have LED lights or anything like that, the light shines through it really, really nicely, and it is also the closest thing to being clear for those types of blasters, and it does look great on it from other photos I've seen. I don't actually own any clear blasters, so I can't physically demonstrate that to you, but it does look very nice. And particularly if you either got to paint it or put LED lights in your blaster, then it's a really nice idea to get clear accessories. Moving right along, these are the next ones. They're dart holders, the SlyDev and the Nerf barrel brake editions. So as said earlier, this one actually screws apart, goes onto the blaster, this one slides on. I find that with the barrel brake dart holder, I quite like the look of it. However, certain darts don't seem to sit in it very well, particularly if you've got old darts that you've used a lot and the foam's sort of worn out, they slide out a lot. Even just certain types of darts like whistlers, I just don't find they hold in there very well. This one, however, I've tried a variety of different old and new darts and it just holds in brilliantly. I've only had like one out of several hundred come out after vigorous shaking. Funny fun fact though, elite darts do tend to hold very well in the barrel brake dart holder. That being said, I do quite like that the SlyDev one is much thinner, and it's also much lighter. It's not quite as weighty, so it's got a very thin, lightweight profile. I guess my only sort of criticism with this one is that there's no sort of plastic barrier in the middle, so it's going to bend a little bit if you bump it or knock it, but it is very strong plastic. I mean, it's not going to snap unless you give it a really big tug or you get a hammer to it. And even then, just a little bit of plastic super glue and it should be all fixed. I'll actually pop this onto a knife finder, which is also a very slim blaster, so this sort of complements its profile nicely. And this will give you a bit of an idea on how quick and how to put it onto a tactical rail. You can also get certain dart holders which you can just glue onto your blaster, and then that way it's kind of like these little guys in the bottom, except in that shape. So you just stick them on, increase your dart capacity. So as I said, it just sort of sits on those little grooves in the tactical rail. I'm sure there's many people out there that's probably going to turn around and say, wow, you took so long attaching it. Well, considering I only just got these the other day and I haven't had a huge amount of time for playing around with them, I'm not doing too bad of a job. And as said, the stronger principle about these is once they're on, they're going to stay on, they're not going anywhere. So as far as holding darts go, very easy to slot in. I'm just going to hold them in there very well. I won't attach them all in there, but they're not coming out, they barely moved at all. As far as taking them out, it's a breeze. So it just suits the profile of the blaster really nicely. It's not weighty, it's not going to move around, the darts aren't going to fall out. It's much more reliable than the barrel break one, and this one is going to be my preferred dart holder of choice. Quick mention on the colour as well. It is a very nice light blue, however it is actually a glow-in-the-dark colour. I find this one doesn't glow as brightly as like the glow-in-the-dark darts or possibly the other glow-in-the-dark plain coloured one, which I don't have a sample of. That being said, as long as you give it good light exposure or use certain type of light to enhance the glow-in-the-dark effect, then yeah, it looks pretty sweet with the glow-in-the-dark darts. What have we got next on the list? We have the Jolt rail connector. So this is great for quickly and easily attaching and detaching jolts. So I guess the idea that I'm going to use it on my Raven for is just to have as a tertiary blaster in case I get stuck in the middle of a reload or something. As far as actually priming the jolt on the blaster goes, it's not all that easy, but as far as firing from the blaster goes, very easy if you've got it in the right position where the trigger's nice and easily accessible. The clip just sort of sits over where the barrel meets the trigger guard and the trigger itself. So on certain blasters it's going to be a little bit hard to get to, but if it's sort of away from the holder then it's nice and easy to use. Or as conversely, just pull it off and it's there. You've got a second blaster ready to go. The great thing about these rail attachments is they're so small you could probably have multiple ones on multiple rails. Particularly like a Stampede, you could probably get like 4 or 5 jolts on there easily. So it's quite nice. We do also have the iron sight attachments as well. The particular back piece that I've got here also has an extra hole for looping like a bandolier clip or anything else like that onto it. The idea about the iron sights is not only to look cool, but it does help your aiming. The front piece here, you can get multiple heights depending on the power of your blaster, whether it's one you just bought off the shelf, you've modified a little bit, or you've modified a lot. So they'll have different heights, and depending on how that works, it essentially encourages you to sort of aim higher or lower and make your adjustments to make sure that the dart will travel where you're aiming at, usually, to sort of compensate for how quickly your dart is going to fall for the ground. Now, this one I believe is just a medium height one. It's probably a little bit hard to sort of demonstrate how it actually looks down the camera from here, but take my word for it that it does look pretty awesome. So, the next one on the list is the Nerf to Nerf connector. This is certainly one of the more interesting attachments. I've got a Stampede with a connector here onto a Reflex. You can get quite a few interesting combinations with it. Essentially, it's just nice to be able to carry an extra blaster around and not have to worry about taking it off. You can actually prime it while it's attached, but I wouldn't recommend it because it does sort of bend the attachment a little bit and can potentially break it. But for all intents and purposes, you can quite happily leave it on there, attached to the blaster, and then if you need it, you're firing around, out of ammo, oh wait, someone's coming, bang. Quite nicely be able to do that. One of the other interesting combinations I'm looking into, if I get a second adapter, just to make it a little bit stronger, is using with the recon barrel, which is a really nice long tactical rail, with a barrel brake on the bottom of it. So that will quite happily open up and reload and not interfere with the clip mechanism of the retaliator, or other blasters you might attach that barrel onto the front of, like a Raven or other like maybe even a long shot. Speaking of which, that brings me to the next accessory, which is actually a tactical rail extension piece. So it's really good for, I guess, if they're going to bring out like a clip holder, or if you want to have a scope or laser sight or anything like that on it. Just gives that little bit extra room to put accessories onto, so if you, quite a lot of modders will cut this off and do something else with it, or they'll have a scope of some kind there, or might have a camera up the front. Possibilities are endless, but I just thought I'd grab that just to show you. I probably won't use this myself because my modified long shot, I've gotten rid of that front bit. However, there's a bit of a tidbit in case anybody does like using the front gun or some form of barrel attachment. It will still quite happily accept any other barrel that you put on there. Okay, what else we got? Oh yeah, this is the much coveted tactical rail camera attachment. My honest opinion about this one is I think it's a little bit loose. It does sort of wobble side to side, which will get picked up on most camera microphones. However, that could just be because either my tactical rail attachment is a little bit wide, from 3D printing perhaps, or certain tactical rails you're going to get larger and smaller ones, so there's always going to be a little bit of room of movement. That being said, being a modder myself, it's not too much of a concern. I'll just buff it out a little bit so it'll help stick it in there. But other than that, it is a fantastic attachment. It's great for people who just want to attach like a GoPro or a small camera onto it and record their in-battle footage. It does a really good job. I've already done a little bit of sample recording from this camera. This camera itself isn't actually that crash hot, but I don't have my GoPros available at the moment. I loaned them out to someone. But yeah, you can see some sample footage which I've already recorded and I'll add in a moment. Okay, so this is the SlyDev camera tactical rail accessory. Forgive the camera view for being off to the right. The camera's little screw port is very far to the left, hence why it's a little bit skew width. Also bear in mind this camera does not have a particularly wide angle, so if you've got something like a GoPro or a Contour or something else with a very wide angle, you're going to be able to get a lot more in the shot. So without further ado, I'm just going to do a quick firing test during video. One thing I really like about this perspective actually is that you can actually see yourself reloading while still having quite a bit of view to the side. Okay, so that brings me to the last accessory. This is actually not a SlyDev creation, but I just thought I'd show it off because I can. I've got a little pinpoint sight. I just think it looks absolutely awesome on an Alpha Trooper with the yellow barricade Raider style stock. I got this one off eBay. It is, funnily enough, like the iron sights, it is actually a useful sight accessory. It's not like the long shot scopes or any of them where they're just there for looks and for playing around with. These ones do actually help you aim. The dot is actually either pretty accurate for powerful blasters or even unmodified. You can sort of bend it up and down a little bit and you can see the little dot go up and down and you can sort of match it up to your target quite nicely. So yeah, I do find it actually helps with aiming. It's not just a gimmick. It is one of the best tactical rail accessories that Nerf have actually made. And the good news of them bringing out an elite version, it's already been released in Singapore. Whether or not the rest of the world will see it is left to be seen. But I definitely like the paint job of the elite version, but at the same time the yellow one is definitely a favourite, particularly with this combination. So that brings me to the end of the SlyDev tactical rail attachment review. Overall, I'm very, very happy with the products and I'll definitely be buying more. I guess the other thing to keep in mind as well is that He does also do custom requests as well, so if there's a particular accessory that you need for your blaster or anything little that you'd like to see printed, you can contact him and see where that goes. He is going to expand into other things other than Nerf accessories as well, so that'll be interesting to see where that goes. But, for example, Minecraft Creeper or Portal weighted companion cubes that will not stab you in the back. A couple of other little announcements as well. First of all, as you know, Link and I haven't really been around very much, mostly either due to illness, work, school, so on and so forth. However, for me personally, I'll probably be a little bit inactive in terms of doing reviews and anything like that until after Christmas, particularly that I work in retail, things are heating up and I'll probably be stuffed after work. I'll still do what I can to hang around Facebook, so feel free to ask any questions Nerf related and I'll probably have a sticky beak and say hi. But yeah, as far as reviews go, it'll probably be on the down low for a little while, until January. However, one big thing that I will definitely be trying to do, and Link will contribute to it, is a Christmas giveaway. Not too sure what it'll actually be yet, but Link and I are in collaboration about what to do for a little Christmas celebration, basically for S.O.F.T getting to Christmas and having our first Christmas. The only other thing that I've got to mention is as well that if you want to see any particular reviews of certain blasters that we may own, leave your comments on the Facebook page or in the link in the comments below. We're happy to hear from our fans and just sort of see what you think about how we do our reviews, where you'd like to see us go with it. One thing that I'll definitely be trying to do in the next year is putting up actual in-battle footage of all the Nerf skirmishes and stuff that I go to with the Hobart Nerf Squadron. I've finally got my hands on some half-decent video editing program, so I'll definitely be able to get some cool footage out of that, particularly some of my modded blasters or some of my stock ones like my Retaliator. I usually get some good footage out of that, either when I'm using it myself or when I loan it out to other people. I've got a whole heap of different GoPros, so yeah, get some good battle footage if you're interested. Yeah, so that brings it to a close of the review of the SlyDev accessories. Thanks for watching.